At Metropolitan Community College, we believe in educational opportunity for everyone. Unfortunately, though, there are barriers that prevent some individuals from access, and we're doing something about that too. Enter the field of assistive technology and a company in Omaha called Assistology. We partner with Assistology to address the need, providing out-of-the-box solutions. I'm your host, Kent Pavelka, and coming up next to talk about it, Megan Walls on Metro and More. Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online. And welcome back. My guest in studio, Megan Walls, who is president of a company called Assistology, as I mentioned, and we'll be talking with Megan about what Assistology is all about and how it relates to Metropolitan Community College. Good to have you here for a little chat today. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, maybe introduce yourself to our audience, a little background about yourself,
sure.
Personally, professionally.
Yep. So, like you said, president and CEO of Assistology here in Omaha. Was born and raised here, left for a while, and then came back about 4 years ago and convinced my Bostonian husband to pick up and move to the Midwest, so big success there. But I have a really long history of engagement in the disability community. So I was immersed at a young age in disability services through Children's Respite Care Center, which is a family business, and then combining that with my desire to constantly solve complex problems really inspired me to go into rehab engineering. So I left and did my undergrad in Indiana and then did my master's at UIC in Chicago. And for the last 12 years, I've really been applying assistive technology to individuals and businesses to give them better access to what they want to be doing.
Okay, well, let's dig into that a little bit. So you were gone for how long from Omaha?
Oh, I left for college, I'm dating myself, but in 2000, and I came back in 2013.
Yeah. And started up Assistology right away, or?
Nope. So I was working, running a pediatric rehab therapy division of CRCC, actually, and
what is that?
Children's Respite Care Center. So serves lots of different ways, serves children up to 21 with various special needs medical diagnosis, and really just continued to see an unmet need in the community for someone with expertise that could work with people of all ages, work in any environment, bring more opportunities for accessible engagement to the community, and saw a real significant need for training and education in disability awareness and accessibility issues. So Assistology was born out of all of those needs I saw in the community. And
I get maybe it'd just be a good start to do some definitions here. Assistive technology, what is it?
It is anything that you can use to make something easier. So there are a lot of things that I classify as assistive technology that are just marketed to the general community. I mean, you know, push button jar openers, the clapper, clap on and off your lights. There's a lot of ways that, you know, home automation with Alexa and all of that, we use that as assistive technology. There's just a lot of gadgets, but really any strategy or apparatus that can make what you're doing less of a burden. Yeah.
So what population are we talking about that usually is most in need of assistive technology?
You know, most generally it's going to be individuals with disabilities, and that can be through a diagnosis for a long-term condition like cerebral palsy, or it can be age-related, so declining vision, declining balance, arthritis, things that come with aging can create disability in your environment. And through applying some assistive technology, you can improve safety, you can improve independence on tasks, allow people to live where they want to live longer. You know, in the case of children, you can get them making more steps towards their developmental milestones and engagement with their peers. So it really is a lifespan population.
Yeah, lifespan in terms of age, and a huge span in terms of the unique issues these folks have, right?
Yep.
Because disability takes in a lot of territory, right?
Yep. There's things, to help with improving access for, work environments, academic environments, recreational environments, so kind of whatever environment in the community they're trying to engage with.
Oh, let me back up a minute. You said that you got started, your interest was spawned as a result of a family business? Really?
Yep.
What's that?
Well, so Children's Respite Care Center, like I mentioned, they serve children up to 21 with medical diagnosis, medical needs. So they have like a medical child care essentially, and respite care and therapy and behavioral health for the families. And so as hanging out in the classrooms, then volunteering there, then working there, initially in high school and college, I was just exposed to all the challenges that the classrooms had with engaging the children, and the therapists and the parents had with services and access to activities. And so then in high school, discovered I really liked physics and engineering, and really combined those two interests, and went on into a career where I could use those as motivators for.
Yeah. Who are your clients? I mean, you're working with MCC. What's the relationship here?
Well, so I initially developed just kind of a friendly relationship with Pam Perry and Workforce Innovation, and we started talking about Kate and all the things that
Kate, you might as well.
Yep, sorry,
Yeah.
Center for Advanced and Emerging Technology, and all the plans here, and talking about their desire to give students different types of opportunities and engage in community and industry partnerships. And so we started talking about, with my expertise and with what Assistology does, how that could work and what that could look like for the programs here and for the college. And so, we're in the final stages of getting all of that finalized for me to be a co-locating industry partner in the space over there. So I'll have
What does co-locating industry partner mean?
I'll have some designated space in their innovation area, and then I'll have access to the hoteling and the training rooms and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
you have a presence.
I'll have a presence, yeah. So part of that is with the partnerships that I have with other organizations in the community, increasing awareness and access and engagement in the space, providing opportunities for students to be involved in projects, everything from the construction students and the interior design students, really aiming to do a lot with the prototype design program. Prototype design is one other kind of aspect of my company that kind of works behind the books, and what innovations are out there to be made. So it could be student projects, like I said. I'm in the works to have a assistive technology lending library in that space, sponsored by United Cerebral Palsy. So bringing in members of the community into the space to borrow, the technology. So being able to give that exposure. One of the really cool things that we're working on is expanding the Go Baby Go Nebraska initiative. So Go Baby Go is this fabulous program that was spawned out of the University of Delaware, all focused on how to give children with mobility impairments access to early independent mobility. So what a lot of people don't realize is most insurance companies won't give a child who can't walk for themselves and who needs a wheelchair, a power wheelchair, till they're 5. So in that case, until they're 5 years old, they're dependent on someone else to decide where they go, how fast they get there, how they get there, what route they take. And so physical therapist in the research lab out there said, well, what happens if we modify this Power Wheels car and give them the ability to learn to do this themselves? And so it just kept going from there. And now there's clinics and sites internationally that are doing these workshops and doing these modifications. And here it's really been driven by the Med Center and a partnership with Children's Hospital. And Tom and Pam over in Kate were really excited about being able to bring a lot of the students into those types of projects, and we got an internal grant from the MCC Foundation to kind of launch our own version of that program here. We're still working out the details, but looking to be able to solve or serve individual families and help kind of really customize one of these Power Wheels cars for their kids, and use the prototype design to make new parts to it and stuff like that. So we're hoping that will just keep growing, because it's.
Will you be able to help a number of families, or how how does that work?
Yep. So with that particular grant, depending on how we do it, we should be able to help 5 families. And then part of the plan with that lending library through United Cerebral Palsy is they're working to help with that expansion as well. So if all of that works out, we'll be able to reach 15 families in the year. And if we can get more people interested in it, hopefully the next year, we'll be able to do at least as many.
What does your presence at Kate do for you in that sense? As far as spreading the word and facilitating this for folks.
Yeah, it is really an awareness thing, and it helps develop stronger community partnerships. Plus, access to the students is a whole different skill pool and an area. There are a lot of yet to be discovered innovations that we can kind of apply, and how far can we take these modifications? How much can we automate and assist within it to allow even more complexly impaired children, be able to do it? And so how do we give safety support and those types of things? So
now for the students at MCC, is this kind of an extra curricular thing, or is it actually in the curriculum, the assistology part?
Right now, it would be mostly extracurricular. As we've come into opening the space over there, the curriculum for the prototype program had kind of been established for this year. But I've talked with some of the people in the program, and the hope is that we can start incorporating student projects or internships directly with me as part of the options. It just wasn't in place in time for this year.
But there are other areas of study at MCC, I assume, where assistology could be part of the curriculum, right?
Yeah, so we've started talking with different members of the Construction Education Center, and then obviously with prototype design, because one thing that everyone agrees is important is that the students that are coming out with the training need to be able to apply their skills in a way that most positively impacts the most people that are going to either use the space or the product. So we've been talking about how to bring Assistology's expertise in to help support the planning of the projects and parts of the curriculum to make sure that they're getting an understanding of impairment and disability and how that manifests itself in community spaces, and incorporating the principles of universal design into their product designs or their prototype designs, so that they're constantly thinking about that end user, thinking about that human experience, and thinking about the whole community, and providing spaces and products that can be used most easily by the most people.
Yeah. Let's go back to the little vehicle for Go Baby Go. We showed a little bit of it on the screen there. This is a little, what is it?
Yeah,
you
know the little Power Wheels, like the little Jeeps they always show kids driving? So it's essentially a version of the Power Wheels Jeep. So
you can go to what, a toy store and buy a Power Wheel?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
see, I'm not in the demo, so.
Yep. So then we rewire the power so that they don't have to use the foot pedal, because these are children who have mobility impairments, which means that Usually the most significant area of impairment is going to be in their legs, whether it's strength or mobility.
Is it battery powered?
Yep, so it's battery powered, so it charges. But then we incorporate we put seat belts in, we incorporate some more supportive seating, some safety roll bars. And this was one of the builds that we did with, in partnership with UNMC that they hosted. And they have a couple of designs that they do at these builds. You can choose from the bigger car or the smaller car depending on the size of the child.
Which one's this?
This is the smaller one.
And you say you reconfigured the necessity of a foot accelerator or brake.
Yep.
So how do they power it? How do they navigate it?
The big red button on the steering wheel is a switch, and we've wired that into the wiring for the foot pedal. And so instead of having to push the foot pedal, they push the switch.
I see.
But there are things that when you put a switch on there, it doesn't make for the best access to the steering wheel. So how can we modify the steering wheel? Or it
becomes both as a steering wheel and a accelerator.
Yep.
Whatever. Yeah.
And I actually modified a car like this long before Go Baby Go started, because we had an individual when I was with Easter Seals out in Massachusetts, and we rewired and mounted a push button switch to the side so he could hold it with his knee, because that was his strongest access point. And so with the kind of individualized way that we're looking at doing the program here, we can really customize the switch location, the type of switch, and kind of create the design of the cars really based on...
Customize it.
Yeah, based on the kid.
So just in terms of practical information here for families that might light up with the possibility, knowing there's a possibility, how are you going to identify the 5 or 6 families?
Yep, so they're UNMC and Children's Hospital will continue to have their twice-a-year community builds, and those are builds where they do 6 or 7 cars at a time. So families call in and get on the list, and then the build happens. For this, it would be we really reach out to therapists, because it's the pediatric therapists that really identify if the child would be appropriate.
Right.
So really, we're reaching out.
Physical therapists?
Mostly, but occupational therapists are usually in the mix too, but it is primarily physical therapists. And so in that case, the therapist, the family says, oh, that would be great. And usually it's the physical therapist that would reach out and say, hey, I have this family. How can we make this work? There's one that called me from, she's in Lincoln, they missed the build. She's wanting to know like how we can work on it. So it can reach more than just the Omaha community.
That's great.
And but yeah, so it's going to kind of be dependent on connecting with the right clinics. But there are quite a few pediatric clinics.
The need has got to be greater than what's going to be possible, right?
Yep. Yeah. And there are, the early development teams work with birth to 3, and really it's like 9 months to probably 5 years old is the window.
9 months.
Yeah, typically.
Would you be able to stay in the same little vehicle? Or?
When they start that young, they really can grow into it. So we worked with a little girl in October who didn't quite fit into the seating thing, so we put in an additional seat belt. So she grows.
She was too little.
Yep, yeah. She was too little. So she grows. She'll grow into it a little bit, and then usually we ask that they return the car or pass it along to another clinic when their child outgrows it, because they can always upgrade.
Yeah.
So, and one of the biggest things is the reason we have these grants behind it is the vision of the program was that it would be at no cost to the families. This would be just an opportunity for them to have access to something fun, like they can chase their peers around, torment the dog, any of those things.
Because you make a great point. It's got to be sad, the lack of opportunity for mobility until you get to be, well, since insurance won't cover
a wheelchair
until 5 years old.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's a great example of assistology, I think, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorites.
So talk a little bit more about some of the barriers that prevent people from participating in, and it's not just at home or at work, it's in all kinds of different
You know, everyone thinks immediately of physical barriers, right? That's what the ADA came in, the Americans with Disability Act came in to help alleviate, is giving guidelines for physical access to space. That's where we got, when we got you know, requirements of ramps and automatic doors and the restrooms. But there are a lot of things beyond that, but beyond what the ADA provides guidelines on, that affect people's use of like physical space. So signage and lighting, and considering the layout of environments. Okay, they can get in the door, but then are the aisles so crowded with retail stuff they can't get down the aisles without knocking stuff over? So those types of things are barriers, but a lot of barriers come out of training and lack of expertise. People don't know how to, don't always know how to apply a program or a workshop in a way that is flexible enough to accommodate whoever might be interested, you know, and partnering with the right expertise so that they can say, okay, these are the outcomes and the goals for the activity we're trying to do. You know, how do we make sure that someone who can't hold the paintbrush or has vision impairment or has hearing impairment can still get the instructions and engage? So barriers come in a lot of forms. A lot of it, I feel, comes from lack of exposure and training. And that's part of where that training and education piece comes in, because if you're working in a person-based role or a customer-based business, and you have never really had the opportunity to engage with an individual with an impairment, and especially one who may communicate differently, use assistive technology, people's first instinct is often to avoid, to prevent embarrassment, prevent insulting someone, and so they don't engage that person. They could have a great customer in that person, sure, but they just kind of, okay, unless they ask me if they need, you know, they need something, I'm not going to proactively engage. And you know, that's restaurants, that's hospitality, that's retail, that's bookstore. I mean, that's just about any.
Well, it's product too, right? Yeah. I mean, not just physical places you go, but right, it's you know, how many people think of when you got a startup and a new product, how do we customize that for everybody, right?
Yep.
But I suppose, how much of a financial barrier or consideration do companies have to address these things?
You know, that is for the individuals, that's a huge barrier, because they're already pretty much tapped out of resources due to medical costs, equipment costs, lack of employment opportunities. You know, a lot of people may be living off of very, very low income, and so access to some of these technologies can be a big burden. And for companies who are developing them, you know, of course there's those types of analysis, but I guess I try to approach it from if you design it to work for the minority, it's going to work for the majority.
Yeah.
So you're going to,
makes sense.
You're going to just continually expand your potential client base if you're thinking about the minority.
Yeah. And if you approach it that way from the beginning, there's probably not that much added. Maybe that's just a guess. Added cost.
Nope, that's perfect, because that's a big part of that. The message to architects and interior designers and those types of planners. You know, if you're thinking about those principles of universal design and that accessibility from the start, your end product is automatically more accessible, and you don't have to retrofit. You don't have costly, you know, redesign expenses and stuff like that.
And that's what you do at Assistology. You come in, meet with businesses, individuals, whatever, whomever, right? To talk, to address their needs, even if they don't know what their needs are, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I've really dominated what we've been talking about here. What do you want to share about Assistology and what you're doing at MCC?
I think that it's letting people know that Assistology is there in the community with a unique expertise that can be a benefit to individuals looking to have better access to life's activities, but also a really great resource for businesses to make sure that they're considering their entire client base,
potential client base,
client base, and understanding how incorporating universal design and accessibility practices is good for business. Everyone thinks about, oh, it's just another expense I have to put in now, but yes, but if you can get the long picture, it's much better for our community, for your businesses, for your clients. But I'm really excited about some of the possibilities developing here between curriculum support and the different types of trainings, really trying to expand the Go Baby Go program and reach more families. The engineer in me has all sorts of little things that come up in my head, so I'm really excited to get some work with the
like what?
The prototype. Oh, I can't tell you those things.
The proprietary before they're developed, right?
Yeah. So getting really starting to get some time with some of the prototype students and explore some project opportunities there. I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah. So folks watching, you've got the website, we've given your email address. If anybody's interested in pursuing this from any angle, what's the best way to do it?
You can call me, you can email me. I'm just like most people on my email all the time. Send me a message through, we've got a Facebook page. We post different types of little assistive technology highlights and share kind of feel-good videos about things that people are doing. So we have a blog. I love to hear from people on ideas of things they want to hear more about. So really any of those media platforms, I'm pretty accessible, ironically enough.
Are you consider yourself kind of a pioneer? I mean, there aren't a lot of people out there doing this as a profession, are there?
No, and that's part of why there's so many areas that I can apply my skills to, because I have a very unique personal and education and professional background. So it allows me the platform to hopefully change a lot of the ways that we do things.
Who most are you trying to reach right now?
Oh, I would really like to talk to I guess building and architecture firms that are interested in learning more about how this can make their practice better for their customers.
And I assume if they would engage you that some of this could end up being part of the standard procedure, right?
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on an individual basis, I would really like to talk to either businesses serving seniors or seniors in general about how it can help them stay at home and independent and doing the things that they want to be doing.
Very good. We've got a lot more we can talk about, and I think we will down the line.
All right.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it very
much.
Thank you. Assistology, and the website again is?
AssistologyOmaha.wordpress.com.
All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
And thank you for being with us again on Metro and More. Our goal is to better acquaint you with the mission, leadership, and the reach of the college. I'm Kent Pavelka for Metropolitan Community College. If you have comments or questions about the program, please email us at metrovision@mccneb.edu. Thanks for watching.
This has been a MetroVision production produced by Metropolitan Community College.